Oh, I've got chills. Billie Piper's your heart just breaks for her. This bit's great as well. Takes his hand away and she puts it back on. Aww. And then it's immediately that wonderful dramatic moment is just smack into the door. That is quite a hard edit. I wouldn't have gone with it. But, like, come on, that edit is really, really harsh. This great emotional beat, you'd want maybe an establishing shot or something, but nope. And it's not even the Reaper, like, is flying around. It headbutts the door. That is harsh. I was just about to grab my shooting script book because I wanted to know if that hand detail when he takes it away and she puts it back on her cheek, if that was scripted or not, but I got so distracted by the Reaper headbutting the door. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and we're in for a heavy and fun one today, folks, aren't we? So, this is Father's Day, and much like Rob Shearman, much like Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat as well, Paul Cornell was one of the writers who kept the Doctor Who torch burning during the Wilderness years, after the show had been cancelled in '89 before it came back in 2005. And Paul Cornell had written numerous Virgin New Adventures Doctor Who adventures, including Human Nature, which would later be adapted in Series 3. He was also one of the creators of the character Bernie Summerfield. And Father's Day is an episode that I still know that it's incredibly highly regarded amongst fans of the series. It was nominated for a Hugo Award that year as well, but I still feel like it's an underrated story. I still feel like fans and the Doctor Who fandom just don't quite appreciate how amazing it is. People are like, oh, it's a 9 out of 10 story, and I'm like, no, it's a 10 out of 10 story, if you can class that as being an underrated episode, I guess. But yeah, it's a very heavy one. I also consider this to be the defining Rose Tyler episode of her first 2 series in the show. But let's not waste any more time and just, let's brace ourselves, folks. Let's start talking about a Doctor Who episode 8, Father's Day. How's that for an opening shot? Ah, young Rose is cute.
Who's that? Your daddy.
Oh dear. That line is gonna come back to kick me in the ass later.
I haven't seen my dad when he was still alive.
Where's this come from all of a sudden?
It's an interesting pan out. Oh, what a good angle. We've not seen the TARDIS since World War III. I feel like, we're a bit reunited with it now. As in the interior of the TARDIS, I should say.
Take you, Jacqueline, Andrew,
God,
Suzette.
this is so, 80s coded. Just that room.
Suzette.
I relate, to be fair. I cocked up in my wedding ceremony by trying to put the ring on the wrong finger, so, it's easy. The pressure gets to you.
I only wish there'd been someone there for him.
Oh dear. This is a lot being set up, innit?
So he doesn't die alone.
November the 7th.
1987.
I like the idea that Rose is going back, not necessarily to save her father. I like to think it's maybe a spur-of-the-moment decision, but the idea that he doesn't have to die alone, it's still a death that she's going back to. Just maybe a slightly better end to the story, I guess.
The past is another country. 1987 is just the Isle of Wight.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
No third term for Thatcher. Oh, Bad Wolf on the Energized poster. We'll ignore that. Oh, here's another track not on the soundtrack.
Mum always said that's stupid for us.
Yeah, it's nice how she's focusing on these little details as well. We're 4 minutes into the episode, not even 5 minutes in, and we're just about to watch him get run over. God, it's so dour. He speeds off. God, this is rough. I can't, imagine, not saying it has to, but I can't imagine a current Doctor Who episode hitting you with something so hard 5 minutes in.
He can't die on his own.
There is like an alternative version of this episode where they go back again and again and again, and the Doctor and Rose are progressively further behind them. Like maybe the third time they try, they're behind the fence. The fourth time, they're behind the wall. The fifth time, they're in that window. Like there is actually maybe a comedic angle that you can play with here if you wanted to. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to distract myself from the depressing opening of this episode. And it's not just the fact that Rose saves her father that makes this like such a wound in time. It's the fact that she does it while there's another set there. Because if Pete Tyler gets rescued, it means that they don't go back to try again. Very unique set of circumstances that cause this episode to happen the way it does.
Rose, no!
And the vase is good. It's good.
Give me some credit. I didn't see it coming. I was going to walk under it, was I?
I'm Rose.
Sean Dingwall as well is so good. So underrated as well. I say that. Fans do sing his praises in this episode. And in Series 2 as well, but yeah.
Boyfriend need lift.
To be fair as well, with him saying that he's a boyfriend, this is the 1980s. So Eccleston looks like he could be in his mid-20s in comparison to people in the early 21st century. That's a random pattern on the curtain, isn't it? Quite abstract.
I should write that down. Anyway, excuse me.
Always on the next idea, always on the next side hustle.
Left it all packed away in boxes in the cupboard. She used to show me when she'd had a bit to drink.
That's also just a little throwaway tragic line. The idea that this only comes out of Jackie when she's drunk. These nice memories of Pete. But it's just so normal to her. That's just how she was told the legend of Pete Tyler.
Third prize at the bowling. First two got to go to Dip Club.
Third prize. Just like she's got the bronze in athletics. Speaking of Father's Day, Theo, you coming in? Theo's just stood by the door.
Okay, it wasn't some big plan. I just saw it happening.
And I believe her here. I don't think that she had a big conspiracy plan to save her father from the moment she realised that the Doctor travelled in time and space. Hey, Theo. Hey.
I did it again. I picked another stupid ape.
Stupid ape.
It's not about showing you
Stupid
the universe.
boy.
It never is. It's about the universe doing something for you.
So it's okay when
And this is what we were talking about last week with Adam Mitchell, doing something for himself.
You don't.
For once, you're not the most important man in my life.
See how you get on without me.
And this is why the reading of the Ninth Doctor and Rose, particularly from Christopher Eccleston as well, like he's talked about before, is a father-daughter relationship.
Will you hang around outside the TARDIS waiting for me? And I'll make you wait a long time!
And it turns out she was right. He was probably just gonna hang out outside the TARDIS. Theo! It's gonna make me wait a long time. Oh, camera operator's drunk.
I think he left me.
What, a pretty girl like you? That was going out with you.
Right there.
I'm just saying.
I know what you aren't even aware that there exists. I don't even want to think about there, and believe me, neither do you. It's like the Bermuda Triangle.
Blimey, you know how to flatter a bloke.
Right.
It's weird.
I mean, that is a quiet wedding.
Time you turn around and say, if only I could turn the clock back.
Live in sin. I forgot about this like dynamic. I don't know what the purpose of the parallel is necessarily, but the idea of like fathers as well. This guy's father telling him not to go through with it. It's a I don't know if it's a parallel just for its own sake, but yeah, I don't know. Yep, the closest thing that the Ninth Doctor does when it comes to touching grass this season. Now this is a great image. Him opening the TARDIS doors and it's empty. That's a great idea. There's like echoes of that in Series 13 in War of the Sontarans, when the 13th Doctor is in Crimea and runs around the TARDIS, the police box, trying to find the door, and the door's gone missing. That's, yeah, stuff like that I adore. Stuff like that's really cool.
He's cutting me in on copyright.
Just got rickrolled. This must have been quite an expensive setup as well, this car scene, because if you saw on the establishing shot, they had all of these period accurate cars in the background as well, which they didn't have to do, but they did to sell the illusion of the time period.
So really, you're a bit of a Dale boy.
Oh, shoot me down in flames.
Yeah, Del Boy is the most appropriate comparison. This episode's set in 87. Only Fools and Horses was a thing then, right? Wasn't it? Yeah, Only Fools and Horses started in 81, and there were 7 seasons, so yeah, it was quite well established here. So Rose calling him a Del Boy and him, you know, not asking what's a Del Boy, you know, that holds up.
This stuff goes right over my head. That's all right. Good job and all.
Oh, oh. I do like that. That feels like a Twilight Zone concept. The idea of the car going round and round.
Hello? Who's this?
Yeah, that's a cool thing. The idea of the Alexander Graham Bell first phone call message. A lot of pub quizzes, I imagine, in 2005, 2006, all of a sudden had, what was the first phone call?
I'm here, stop your belly aching.
God,
Take Rose a
the
sec.
big hair, the curls. Oh, hello. Hello, Rose. Oh, here we go. It's okay, Rose. I once called my teacher mum by mistake. I mean, I was like 6, but, you know, it happens.
Be late for your own funeral.
This shot is like Billie Piper just looking so stunned.
Your hair.
She's so good in this.
I've never. It's lovely. Your hair's lovely.
She must look like a escaped mental patient from Jackie's perspective.
Your baby.
But this is completely how you'd react. This is probably how you'd be.
Didn't even know her. She was a cloakroom attendant. I was helping her look for my ticket. We were under all this stuff.
Were you playing around?
For a while when I first watched this episode, I thought that this was the story that he'd invented for how he met Rose, but I think the implication is that this was the last time he was fooling around, you know, with somebody else.
What's he get up to?
You'd know.
God, and Rose just having her rose-tinted stories of her father just destroyed right in front of her. Pun intended.
Stop it!
How Rose cries at the same time as this Rose shouts. I'm assuming this is like, oh, let's just quickly nip to the park on the way to the wedding. Aw, right, little Mickey. That's a nice little horror thing. In camera, she disappears. I think the implication is that
I'm not listening.
everyone eaten by the Reapers does come back by the end because the Ninth Doctor comes back, but the idea that the trauma of this still lingers with Mickey afterwards, that's pretty freaky. Ooh. She's so happy to hear his voice. Ooh. Now the Reapers, these look so fucking cool. There is a great bit of concept art. I think they showed it in Confidential. It is like jet black with red eyes. They look cooler in the concept art, but the scythe-like tail, the way how their arms open up to show the teeth, so cool. Oh, no. Here we go, Dad. That's a lovely detail as well. When the Reaper's wings clip the grass and you see the impact it makes. Yeah, the bar's in the way a bit, but you can see that it's like actually affecting the environment around it. I like how the Reaper's like, oh, I could kill this woman right in front of me, but no, let's go for the vicar. You know, let's really lean into the devil imagery.
The older something is, the stronger it is.
And then Father's Day, without really transitioning, just becomes a base under siege story.
Jackie Tyler, do as I say. Go and check the doors.
Yes, sir. She just wants a strong northern lad.
Keeping ourselves alive. That's the very first phone call. Alexander Graham Bell. Nothing in this universe can harm those things. Time's been damaged, and they've come to sterilize the wound
Oh dear.
by consuming everything inside.
Say it's her fault
It's my fault.
without saying it's her fault.
These things are all over the place. Maybe they are well.
This is great as well. He spots early on the car. This is his second scene in the church, and he already figures out how to stop it or what to do,
It's not important. Don't worry about it.
and tries to dissuade him from it. That's a brilliant beat. And Pete figures it out as well. He says as much, but yeah. That's a great image as well. The Reaper behind the stained glass window. Also, I say Reaper. The word Reaper is never said in the episode itself. But that's just the official name for it.
No, just everything.
And Pete's like an average guy, but he shows here that he is pretty sharp. He picks up all of these details and figures out pretty early on we're basically now at the midpoint of the episode, figures out what's going on and who this Rose is.
It's like I trusted you.
Oh, I've got chills. Billy Piper's your heart just breaks for her. This bit's great as well. Takes his hand away and she puts it back on. Aww. And then it's immediately that wonderful dramatic moment is just smack into the door. That is quite a hard edit. I wouldn't have gone with it. But, like, come on, that edit is really, really harsh. This great emotional beat, you'd want maybe an establishing shot or something, but nope. And it's not even the Reaper, like, is flying around. It headbutts the door. That is harsh. I was just about to grab my shooting script book because I wanted to know if that hand detail when he takes it away and she puts it back on her cheek, if that was scripted or not, but I got so distracted by the Reaper headbutting the door. Once again, Doctor Who the shooting script. I wish there was one of these for every season of the revival. Maybe they'll do it for the Bad Wolf era. I've heard the rumours that they're going to be releasing a art book or something, like a concept art book. Yeah, here we go. Scene 41, interior church. You sound like her when you shout. He reaches to wipe a hair back from her brow and stops, not sure if he's allowed to. She grabs his hand and holds it against her face. You are my Rose grown up. Dad, my daddy. The last being said in a terrible outpouring of grief and love as she crumples into embracing him. And then cut to scene 42, interior church, away from the others. The Doctor is feeling his way along the wall. So that hard edit with the headbutting Reaper, that's not in the script. That looks like an editing decision. I wouldn't have made that, but anyway. Anyway.
I just wanted to ask.
Can you save us?
Oh, and this scene's lovely as well.
I don't know.
Probably
I don't want to know.
one of the most important scenes of the whole series, I think. Not to harp on, too much about it, but I feel like scenes like this are just so absent from the current run.
Street corner, 2 in the morning. Getting a taxi home. I've never had a life like that.
And that's where he feels simultaneously his most human, but also his most alien. Okay, where can we shoot this scene? And Ernie Vince is like, okay, do we have a really orange room?
Useless. Do you all have time machines where you come from?
No, just the Doctor.
That's a nice line. Like, have time machines something commonplace, like 15, nearly 20 years from now?
Mickey?
Oh, Mickey! And, like, she basically imprints on him.
Oh yeah, talking. Well, the world comes to an end. What do? Cling to the youngest blonde.
She's not wrong to be angry or suspicious.
Why?
See, an establishing shot like that is much more appropriate.
You're not going to bring about the end of the world, are you?
Give that child actor the Oscar.
No. Don't touch the baby.
We call that the Bulinovich limitation effect.
Don't touch the baby. All right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a similar beat to The Unquiet Dead, when he's like, alright, Charles Dickens, I shouldn't have told you to shut up. Very consistent characterization.
There used to be laws stopping this kind of thing from happening. My people would have stopped this.
It's interesting, it's a way you might not have been able to tell a story like this in the classic series, because you have the Time Lords hanging over everything.
Tell me you're sorry.
I'm sorry. Have you got something home?
It's the TARDIS key.
Oh, jacketless Ninth Doctor. I like this as well structurally. It is like the glimmer of hope. It is like, okay, once the TARDIS is back, we can fix everything, but that's not the way that this story goes. Oh yeah, this one's wonderful, where Rose is able to present the idealized father that she never had.
You hadn't been there to save me.
That was just a coincidence.
Yeah, he knows. He knows that something is going on with that car, I think. I think he's figured out at this point.
Yeah.
Or at least he's getting the inklings of it.
Still living with my good dad.
That's such a human question as well. It is the instigator for this really wonderful scene, this monologue, but I think it's a very human question. And this speech is maybe for him as much as it is for her.
You were there for us all the time.
That's a lovely little
Someone I
performance
could really rely on.
detail as well. When she's talking about what he practically does, she's looking away as if she's visualizing it herself. But when it comes to what those actions mean and say about him, she delivers it to him. It's like a multifaceted monologue. Whether that's Joe Ahern's direction or Billy Piper's instincts as an actor, either way it's brilliant. Ooh, a track that is on the soundtrack. This is a cool visual as well. The TARDIS sort of fading into existence, almost like glass. It looks so odd just sat there.
The thing that you change will stay changed.
You mean I'll still be alive?
Yeah, he's clever.
Though I'm meant to be dead. Well, I didn't mean anything.
Doesn't work like that.
Rubbish.
Imagine saying that to a Lord of Time.
I'm your dad. It's my job for it to be my fault.
Oh, that line.
How old were you? 12? Oh, it's disgusting.
The doctor's like, I don't do domestic. But ideally, if he had been there.
It's the same road.
No. Blinovich would be rolling in his grave.
I'm the oldest thing in here.
And he just does it. He doesn't hesitate. But yeah, structurally, this is brilliant because it raises the stakes, but it also gets rid of the out for the episode. We call this, folks, the all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment!
Keystone cold, the doctor's gone. This situation snowballed, didn't it? Great, and the British summer's arrived. This bit's great as well. No dialogue, but he sees it and he works out in his head. I remember when I spoke to Joe Ahern about Dalek and asked him some of his favourite moments and shots of the series, and he cited this as one of them. Like, this really long, unbroken take coming up of Pete looking out the window and figuring it out and coming to terms with what he has to do. And it's all in his face.
I do love when, sometimes you can have, and I have done them, kind of these Baroque shots where you've got the camera on the ceiling spinning around, or you do 360 pans or very long tracker shots. I do love all that stuff, but sometimes it can sometimes just be a close-up of an actor's face. Like Rose's father, Pete, realising that he's going to have to die in Father's Day, and you stay on his face for an unusually long time for television, So it can be the length of shot as much as, a striking angle or anything like that.
It's a lot to ask for an actor, and he does it. Oh, this is a great shot as well. Focus on Rose here. Camera left as Pete comes in from camera right.
We didn't want to go through it again.
Yeah, and
Another way.
he figured it out. And what that says about the Doctor, and also what that says about Pete.
What are you talking about?
Like I said, it is like Twilight Zone. The idea that Pete Tyler's death is going around and round the block, just waiting for him to collide with it.
You'll have my love.
My daddy.
Yep, that's the line hitting me again from the beginning.
Ours.
And this music as well. This feels more like Rose Tyler's theme than Rose Tyler's actual theme.
Jackie, you got to survive because you got to bring up our daughter.
You would have been.
But I can do this for you. I can be a proper dad to you now.
It's not fair.
I've had all these extra hours. No one else in the world has ever had that.
And if this had been Sean Dingwall, Pete Tyler's final ever appearance in the show, it still would have been so impactful. They were very clever with the parallel world Pete next season, because ultimately Pete does get a quote better death, but it's still a death. And then he gets eaten by a Reaper because he timed it badly.
Go to him.
Oh, Dad's back. The fact that there's no reaction to him coming back, like, yeah, memories have gone. God. Anyway, oh, next week it's Stephen Moffat. That'll be a nice chipper one. World War II, finally something fun. Oh, so there we go. That's Father's Day. So yeah, it's pretty interesting as well, where you've got this. Maybe it could have been explored further if they had a longer series, or if they did a second series with the Ninth Doctor and Rose. But the idea of like the Ninth Doctor being pretty like almost coercive with Rose in this episode, because there's this, like, I don't know if it's a deliberate parallel or whatever, but this moment where Pete and Rose are having this emotional moment here, and then later on when the Ninth Doctor essentially like guilt trips her into apologizing, like, tell me you're sorry, that's almost like a little bit uncomfortable to watch. And it's the idea of maybe the Ninth Doctor asserting like dominance over Rose in a way. I'm not sure. It sits a little bit strangely, but I think that might be by design. And the idea how, by the end, with Pete gone, the Ninth Doctor is now the most important man in Rose's life again. And maybe that's the way how he wants it to be. I feel like it's something that could have been a bit more explored a lot further. But like Christopher Eccleston has talked about this as well, the idea that he sees the Ninth Doctor and Rose as a father-daughter relationship, not a like boyfriend-girlfriend romantic relationship. But then we get to next week with The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. And Stephen Moffat is like, oh no, this is about sex. Yeah, this is about them competing sexually over Rose. Which, yeah, and then they kiss at the end of the parting of the ways. It's a little bit muddled, I think. Like, that's probably the biggest thing approaching an overarching criticism of Series 1 overall. What is the Ninth Doctor and Rose's relationship? You can change it with 10 and Rose, but with 9 and Rose, I subscribe to the theory, sans Stephen Moffat and the parting of the ways with Russell T Davies, it's a father-daughter one. And I think Father's Day is what sort of cements it as that. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant episode. It's expertly written, brilliantly performed, exceptionally well directed, great music, great production, even though this is kind of the Base Under Siege, relatively low-budget episode of the series, if you maybe ignore the Reapers. But yeah, and it's interesting that Eccleston has spoken about this episode at conventions and panels and has described this as like the Doctor Light episode, because it's not what we, fandom consensus, it's not what we consider Doctor Light. We think of stories like Love and Monsters, we think of stories like Blink, or more recently episodes like Lucky Day, where the Doctor has like minutes in terms of screen time, whereas the Ninth Doctor is pretty present up until he gets eaten by the big monster 34 minutes in. And, there's 9 minutes of the episode left, including the next time trailer and the credits. It's not like he's gone for a very long time. But because Rose is so present in the episode, it is undeniably her story. I just wouldn't really call it Dr. Light. But it's an interesting interpretation from Eccleston that is wholly valid, I think. I'm not here to police terms or police fandom terminology. But yeah, it's great. It's really bloody good. But anyway, speaking of really bloody good, I'll see you folks next week for The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. And Theo is really meowing outside. He wants his dad. Very fitting. I'll see you folks next time. Theo, what's up? Come on, Theo.